The interesting thing about this list is that money is not even on here. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome to my channel. My name is Stephanie Anya, Steph Anya for short, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. Today, I'm going to be talking about the top reasons marriages fail according to the work that I've done with my clients. If you're curious, stay tuned. Let's start with today's sponsor, Paired, an app designed to improve intimacy and connection for couples. You guys know I've been talking about Paired at this point for over a year. My husband and I are always interested in trying out new things to build emotional intimacy. So once I tried it out, I was hooked and I was telling everybody about it. Paired really opens your conversations up with your partner in a fun way. You can do quizzes to see who knows the other person better. They have open-ended topics where you can just answer it, send it to your partner, see how your answers match up. And I love that it's backed by relational experts. Even as a relational expert, it still gives me so much insight into my own relationship that I wouldn't be able to do on my own. Just because when you're in the thick of a relationship, sometimes it's hard to look at it objectively. So getting those questions from an outside source and being surprised at my answers, being surprised at my husband's answers, I definitely recommend it. If you click the link below in my description box, you'll get a 7-day free trial of the Paired app and also 25% off of premium if you want to continue with a subscription. And now let's get back into the video. So over time, as I've been working with clients, I've noticed that a lot of the same issues bring my clients into session. And the thing is that they very rarely come in stating these as being the top problems. Most of the time when couples come into therapy, they say that their number one problem is communication. Communication is something that we know can be easily disrupted when there are other factors at play. So I'm going to share some of the common pitfalls that I witness with my clients that we spend weeks, months, sometimes years working on in hopes of saving a marriage. Number one, we think that we should fix our partner. This is something I see with my clients all the time. With my couples, a lot of them are coming in not to identify what the issue is in their relationship because they already know. And of course, that issue is their partner. They basically want someone to tell their partner what they need to do so that they can fix themselves and be better for their relationship. And it's just not that simple, because a lot of the times what people are wanting to fix, major tenets of their partner's personality, their character. You want your partner to stop talking so long at social events and making you feel jealous when they're engaging with other people in conversation. But what attracted you to them is that they're charming and they know how to work a room, and they made you feel special in those first conversations that you have with them. You want your partner to dress as nicely as your friends' husbands, but the thing that attracted you to them originally is that they're so low maintenance. So a lot of times what I see is that the very thing that they want me to fix in their partner are some of the same qualities that actually attracted them to their partner. While I do believe it's important for us to recognize our partner's needs and make shifts and adjustments when possible, if you are looking at your relationship and you think the only problem is that your partner needs to change, there's a high probability that you're missing a huge piece of the puzzle. We refuse to acknowledge the impact of our childhood or past relationships on our relationship that we're facing issues with today. So many times couples come to me and they're in couples therapy, but they are completely unwilling to be in individual therapy. Individual therapy gives you a unique opportunity to share your story from your perspective with no one interrupting you and negating your version of the truth, with no one there to judge you for choices you've made in the past. And sometimes having that open space to really process what you've experienced in past relationships is critical to understanding the patterns that are still playing out in this relationship. If you're in a relationship, for example, where you feel like your partner is too sensitive, they're always crying, they're taking everything you mean out of context, yet you grew up in a household where you had a parent who would come home from work and yell at their wife, be short with their kids because they've been stressed out at work and now they're displacing that anger onto you, you may not recognize that you are doing the same thing in your marriage. you're stressed at work, you're overwhelmed at work, you're coming home, you're being short, you have an attitude, you don't want to deal with them, and your partner is sensitive to that and they're responding to that, and it's frustrating. Maybe they are more in touch with their emotions, they're able to express those tears, and it's not them trying to be manipulative, it's them actually feeling hurt about the way that they're being treated by you. So often I have people who refuse to recognize that there are probably patterns that are playing out from your childhood that are impacting your marriage today. If you are in couples therapy, I always recommend that you also be in individual therapy. And I know that for a lot of people, this is not feasible financially. I would actually encourage you to pull back on couples therapy sessions, right? Let's say if you're having a meeting with a couples therapist weekly, if you can't afford to see a couples therapist weekly and get individual therapy, move to seeing a couples therapist every other week. And then in the off weeks, you see an individual therapist. If you and your partner are needing individual therapy, meet with that couples therapist twice a month, and each of you see a therapist once a month. There needs to be some give and take, because it can really expedite the process of working on issues in your relationship if you can identify what's happened in your past that's affecting the way that you're perceiving things in your relationship and how you're behaving in your relationship today. We expect our partner to be our everything. This is something I actually can talk about experiencing it firsthand. So it's so easy for me to see it with my couples. You get so caught up in the idea of having found the one that you literally think they are the one person that you should be focusing all of your attention and energy on. And this not only puts you in a vulnerable position where, should there be a shift in your partner's emotional availability to you, you have no one available to fill those roles for you, but also it puts a lot of pressure on your partner. And I see a lot of times my couples coming to me, you've got the one person who's a little bit more extroverted, the other person who's more introverted, and that extroverted person is made to feel guilty because they have relationships outside of their marriage. So maybe they are going to hang out with friends for birthday parties. You feel like you're being abandoned, because if your expectation in a relationship is that your partner is not going to have any other significant relationships, and then you're not going to have any other significant relationships, then that is something that will affect the way that you all are able to interact with each other. Yes, I do strongly believe that when you have a romantic relationship, the special thing about that is that for most people, there's only one person that we're choosing to have in that role at that time. So there is a certain sacredness that comes with that, especially when you're married. You've made the commitment to just be with each other. However, you need other people. You need to have friends. You need to, if you can, have relationship with your family. You need to have hobbies and passions. You need to have goals and dreams that may or may not include your partner. You need to have experiences outside of them. This also helps you be able to have more things to talk about with your partner. If you two are together 24/7 and you have no experiences outside of each other, believe it or not, after a while, it's hard to have meaningful conversations because neither one of you can bring other experiences into the conversation. And we need people to be able to learn and to introspect and to grow. So if you expect your partner to be your everything, you might be actually sabotaging a relationship while thinking that you are honoring it to the highest degree. We minimize our partner's values. This is something that actually is very frustrating to me in therapy when I am working with my couples, where you have one person who is completely invalidating and minimizing their partner's values. A common classic dynamic that I see happen is you have the partner who is very money focused and very solution focused, and the partner who is more emotionally in tuned and more focused on experiences and memories. This is something where I see the clash happening constantly. The person who's money focused looks at anything their partner is doing that does not garner financial gain as a waste of time. So you have that one partner who's a little bit more emotionally in tune. Typically, they might be artsy. Maybe they have a lot of craft projects, a lot of hobbies. These are things that they do that help make them feel like their life is well-rounded. But these things may cost money, as a matter of fact, and they don't earn any money. And their partner gets really frustrated that they're spending time doing that instead of hustling and making more money. Now, I understand sometimes times we're in a position where we're trying to survive, and you can look at your partner and feel like they're dead weight because they're not contributing to these larger goals you have. But what you don't understand is that sometimes when you take those hobbies and passions away from your partner, you're actually going to get a very different person than the person you fell in love with, because they don't have access to their outlets that help them process their feelings and be a good partner to you. This is something that I see happening all the time. And on the flip side, that person who is more emotional, they look at their partner who is a little more solution focused, who's more focused on financial security and thriving financially. They think, you never want to spend time with me. You don't enjoy relaxing with me. You're always thinking about how we can monetize the things that we do. And so they feel really frustrated that their partner isn't making that time. But a lot of times what they don't understand is that that partner who is focusing on financial security is usually thinking about your future in mind. They're like, let's work now so we can relax later. They want to be able to comfortably have a family with you. They want to be able to get a home with you. They want to be able to take you on certain vacations. And they see working hard as the way of doing that. And they're willing to sacrifice quality time now for quality time in the future. And there's really no right or wrong way to approach this other than to respect that you have different values, because what usually attracted you to that person is that they're a provider and that you felt secure in their ability to plan for the future. But what that looks like in actuality sometimes is them being relatively absent and feeling alone. And so there are ways to figure out how to negotiate that so that neither one of you feels like you're being abandoned in your personal values. But that's why it is also important to have those outside relationships. That person might have a business partner, or you might have a crafting buddy, for example, that you don't have to feel alone in your values. But also it is important to experience these things with your partner. So that's where a therapist might come in handy, so you guys can figure out how can we balance this so that neither one of us feels that our personal values are neglected. But when you're consistently minimizing one another's values, you're going to continue butting heads and feeling like the other person just doesn't get it. Here's a major killer. We're unintentional about intimacy. And that's not only physical intimacy, that's also emotional intimacy. I've got a whole video on building emotional intimacy in a relationship. But if you are not intentional, it's so easy to lose that aspect of your relationship. I have couples who come to me who have not kissed in over 5 years. I have couples who come to me who don't even know what their partner's goals and dreams are. Couples who come to me who find it uncomfortable to hold hands. It was a regular part of their relationship until it wasn't, and now it feels awkward with the person that you're planning to be with for the rest of your life. So it's so important to be very intentional about asking your partner questions. I love giving my clients exercises of questions to take on a date night, so that way they can get to know each other better. And it's always surprising to me the things that people don't talk about, especially when it comes to things that have happened in their past relationships. I have so many of my couples where you have one or both partners who's like, I don't want to know about their ex. They genuinely do not want to know. And that lets you know there's a level of insecurity that is existing, even though it feels the opposite. Like a lot of times they'll be like, I don't need to know about that ex because I know they love me and that's all that matters now. On one level, sure, that can be true, but there's another part of you that is resistant to the idea of hearing about a time in your partner's life when they weren't with you, which is a very important aspect of their story. And I talk about listening about their past relationships and other parts of their life. I'm not just talking about the bad stuff. A lot of us find comfort in hearing our partner talk about how their ex was this and that, and they didn't love them and they didn't respect them and they cheated on them. And yes, those are important parts of our partner's history, but there are probably some things that worked well about that relationship too. And those things can be things that we can learn from, even if we don't incorporate them ourselves, but just to know more about our partner. Maybe the way that they love on us is a reflection of how well a past partner loved on them. And we have to be able to open ourselves up to those conversations. Those sorts of things build intimacy. And it's intimate and vulnerable to say, I'm really worried about talking about this because I don't know emotionally, how I'm going to respond to it. That's intimate too. We want to practice telling our partners about our fears, our worries, our concerns, but also being open to hearing about their history. Because when you allow your partner to be intimate with you in an emotional way, it does naturally lead to more physical intimacy. Even sex. A lot of times we aren't able to fully enjoy sex with our partners because there are so many emotional barriers that are preventing us from completely letting go. Orgasms for women can be very, very mental. And if there's a block that's happening for that orgasm, sex might not be very pleasurable for her. She might not look forward to it, and she may actually find ways of getting out of experiencing sex just because the discomfort is not worth maybe momentary or minimal pleasure. So opening yourself up to more intimate conversations can lead to more comfort with hand holding, more comfort with cuddling, with kissing, and yes, even sex, because you've made it where there are no barriers in your relationship. And for my couples who are watching this video and are not married yet, one of the biggest downfalls I see in marriages is a lack of premarital counseling, not enough conversation around expectations in the marriage. I can't tell you how many times I meet couples who didn't discuss things like, what would we do if we struggle with infertility? What are our expectations if our parents age or family member becomes ill? Are you guys the type of people who would take them in? There's no right or wrong answer, but those are things that you should talk about beforehand. You should talk about how you're going to organize your money. So many people ignore the financial conversation before they get married, and then they don't know if they're going to have a joint bank account, if they're going to have a joint account for bills. There's so many things that are not discussed before marriage that if they were discussed, the pressure around it would be so much less. Because what ends up happening is that when you don't discuss these things and you wait until after you're already married or engaged, you start to feel trapped. You feel like I'm stuck with this person who does not agree with me about this very big critical issue. What are my options? Once they get to the point where they feel like their only option may be to leave the relationship unless their partner changes, which takes us back to the beginning, then they're like, well, let's go to therapy and just see if we can salvage this. So I highly, highly recommend premarital counseling because there's only so many conversations that you can think of on your own that a premarital counselor should be able to help you, especially if you can find someone who is like a marriage therapist and premarital counselor, because they can tell you about the issues they're seeing on both ends. So these are really the top issues I'm seeing with a lot of the couples that are coming into my practice to try to salvage their marriage today. I could really do follow-ups on this because honestly, it changes a lot, but these are the issues that I'm seeing across the board with a lot of my couples. Let me know what you think are some of the biggest issues in relationships that you've been witnessing recently or even experiencing. And let me know if any of these hit the nail on the head for your personal experience. Thanks again to Paired for sponsoring a portion of today's video. Paired is an excellent way for you to start building on that emotional intimacy if you just don't even know where to start with asking questions. Please check the link in my description box if you'd like to try them out for yourself. I ask that you like this video, subscribe to my channel, share this video with anyone that you think may find it useful. And as always, let me know your video requests and ideas. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way until the end. You didn't have to do that, but the fact that you did actually helps me out a lot. So thank you, thank you, thank you.